What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Car Rant. Today is real exciting because our package from iWire has arrived and we now have everything we're gonna need on order or on the way, so that while I'm doing this job with the wiring harness, we should be getting ready to be done with the Forester. It's been a long time coming. I had no car this entire time, and let's just say I am beyond ready to finally get this car running, making it mobile, and being able to finally just go to the store without having to bum a ride from somebody, honestly. Now, as I already mentioned, this is our old harness, but now patched with the new parts and new harness pieces for our new setup. We're now on a manual setup, and we're set up to run an EJ205 versus an EJ255 NA. So there's lots of bits and pieces, things from iWire that are in here, and I just gotta give a huge shout out and big thanks to the guys, because this harness looks great. You can definitely tell where they did their job and where they just kind of left it alone, because some that's left alone is just taped. The stuff where they went in there and they did a lot of patchwork is with this really cool, you know, shall we say, coating. These bus plugs, everything that I'm seeing in here is just really clean and really nice, and it makes me really excited to pull this thing out. I also just am aware that this is a beast. I'm not looking forward to having to take this thing apart, or not apart, but put it back into the car, because oh boy, there's a lot here. And it's gonna be heavy. Trying to lug this thing throughout the car. Figure out what goes where. Check it out! We got build numbers. These are the amount of cars that they've done this type of wiring for. That's how reliable I can say and trust in their work. They can send us some dope stickers. You best believe one's gonna go in this car. And it's like the little warranty bit. They also say, warning, make sure this grommet is oriented as shown below. Cool. Yeah, we don't want the turbo to melt that grommet, because that'd be a bad day. So to clarify some things that you'll notice as this video goes on, we've done a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Namely, we've figured out our plumb up network. We got these beautiful parts from Ishimoto. So we got the intake inlet thing here. We got an intake pipe that now fits correctly. All the hoses are pretty much lined up. There's a couple of things that we do have to fix. It's a bolt that needs to get tapped out down there for this cross pipe. Once that's done, we can then rewire this thing with the wiring harness that came on the engine. I didn't realize that we actually could use that same harness. I thought I needed a different one. But apparently, we're good to go. We just gotta have everything put back on. We'll see what happens. I may have to give iWire a call just to get some clarification on things. But as far as that stuff goes, for the wiring, we're gonna go ahead and get started in here. And I'm gonna do a lot of this off camera and just kind of show you updates as we go along, because this is an overwhelming number of clips and pieces that need to get reinstalled in here. Things like the heater cores in the trunk, I gotta put that in, the blend door stuff, all that all has to get bolted in with this harness. And I figured I would at least show you bits and pieces of it, not the whole thing, because this would be a really boring video otherwise. But without further ado, I'll mention iWire has a video talking exactly about how to reinstall one of these, and let's get started. Alright, it has been a few days since we last touched this car, because it's just been really hot. And I hate to say it, we're at the point now where we just got to get it done. There is no more being able to play around with it. Today, we got to finish it. We have, from iWire, a brand new handmade engine harness. I'm very excited to put that on. We've got to go put that underneath the hood, get that thing set up. It's just going to be a little bit of a task. I'm going to need Ian here to help me pull the motor up so I don't mess this up on my own. It's always better to have a friend when you have a risky job that you're not comfortable with, because then it saves you from potentially hurting yourself or damaging your product. Off camera, John and I went ahead and slapped in some brand new WRX arms. We converted over some of the parts there, and now it should be set to go. It never gets old. Every time, never gets old. These new shocks look so good. I'm actually really excited for this because this will be the first time I've had a lower car with K's on it again in my position that I can drive since literally the Evo. And that's been a while. Now, we got these beautiful things. Ooh, pillow balls are like solid and everything. Oh, I'm so excited. Well, we're up on the front, so we're gonna do the fronts first. As always, guys, the difference between the old and the new is staggering. Oh, man, this is crazy. So these are our favorite coils. We have the K Sports, the Pro Controls for the Forester. These aren't for any other model. These are specific to the SF5 Gen 1 Forester frame. But just the difference between old, busted, and new hotness. It's just, God. I don't know how I feel right now. But of course, before we throw the K Sports in, we got to go ahead and get a nice, fresh new axle put in. This thing is like a barbell weight. It needs new axles just because the ones that were on the transmission are, of course, just that piece there. But also, it just needed fresh axles. The axle on this side actually tore. One on the other side was really rusty. So we just said, screw it, and let's do it. So after a little while, we finally got the car set up a little bit, and dude, look at how low. So that's stock on the ground. This is stock, or not stock, but this is the modified setup, but like at a resting position. Holy cow, that is low. Very low, but it looks so good. These are NKTS 5s and they look incredible. Very happy with these. These came out so beautifully. Although I think the heat is starting to get to the center cap a little bit, but that is what it is. We got Yokohama Advance Sport AS Plus tires on them. We'll do a review on these once this whole project is done and the alignment's straight. But like, oh, like it's gonna tuck in real nice. It's gonna sit real pretty. I'm very happy with this look and the way it's coming out. I mean, just look at that. Would you look at that? Yeah, look at that. That is, that's gonna look so good once it's on the ground. We've got the K Sport coils in the front, so now we're just getting everything kind of tightened up a bit, because as I've got some of the reinforcements on the way, we're going to start getting this area prepped. We have the bolt that we still have issues with. We're about to tap it out. That way we can put the crossover pipe for the coolant in and be able to actually start setting things up. In the meantime, you'll notice we've got some nice hoses and no radiator. Where's the radiator, you ask? Boom, right here. Beautiful Mishimoto radiator for our Forester. I'm so excited. We've got the fans there. Those arrived first. This arrived a little later. I'm gonna go ahead and get this out, get the fans and all that connected together. That way it's one piece. And we can then prepare it to be put into the car. But only after we get started with that bolt, because we need the wiring harness set up and we can't do much of the wiring harness until the bolt's fixed. So you can raise the motor up just enough to put on the harness, on for the spark plugs and all that, and then put it back down. And then this can go in. Convoluted, but that's how we do. Also, gotta give a quick mention here. We are actually gonna have to lose our front sway bar. And the reason for it is this sway bar was set up for a Forester. Now that we have a complete WRX arms setup in there, we're going to change out that front end for a WRX sway bar with the sway bar end links. It'll be an easy job, thankfully, because I know how to do that. And once that's on there, then the front will be totally dialed. I'm very excited to see what will happen next with that. But for now, we're going to get this thing ready and we're going to go get that rad prepped. So rad is ready to go. It's all set up. We got Ian, got my boy Chris. We're getting this thing situated now with the spark packs. We're putting them back in. We have the wiring harness kind of prepped to go around things. We're having issues with that one bolt that broke off. So now we're just kind of getting everything else done. That way we can at least roll it forward. Because with everything else put together, we can always deal with that bolt independently. It's now the next day and we have a lot of bad news. When we put the motor down, this engine hoist behind me actually gave out and almost crushed Ian's hand. It was a freak situation. Not exactly sure what went wrong other than the fact that we heard a big old loud pop and it lost pressure. And thankfully nobody was hurt. Thank God nobody was hurt, because that would be a very heavy weight on my conscience if that were to happen. But alas, the hits keep on coming, because when we did get the hoist back up and running and went to actually plug in like our transmission to the drive shaft, get the axles put in and all that, this transmission is actually not the right transmission at all. We're not actually sure what this transmission's from. It might be from a WRX, it might be from something else entirely. We're not sure. Basically, there were 3 main failure points, and that's what's making it not work at all. Our axles don't mate to this thing whatsoever. I was told this was a Forester transmission. It's definitely not. I also can't get the drive shaft to mate to it with the engine where it's supposed to sit. It's actually physically too short by quite a lot. Like the very end of the spline sits in that transmission, and that's all. Add to this, transmission itself can't even be mounted correctly because how short it is. The actual trans mount sits too far forward by what appears to be several inches. I don't know the exact measurement because it's not like I had the truck on a lift in the air and could just tape measure it. I'm underneath the car looking at it for myself. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but we're gonna have to put this project on hold for a while. After all, transmission's not a cheap thing to get, and we got even more bad news, and that is the management for my apartment complex. They're not keen on us working on the cars here anymore. So for now, Forester's gonna have to go bye-bye. My boy Randy, he's gonna actually house the truck for a little while. Truck, SUV, whatever. He's gonna house the Forester for a little while. We gotta get it out there to where he lives at in West Virginia. And I'm probably gonna stack as much of the parts for it into the back of that thing. That way when it goes out, everything goes out with it. Just so that it's all in one place, all under one umbrella. But we're gonna figure out what to do with the rest of it, because obviously we still have stuff like the Laurel. We've got stuff with, you know, both the other S chassis we're still trying to do. We're gonna figure out like a best case solution if we can pull the cars into the garage and work that way, because we're just not entirely sure. We were originally told that we had some level of permission to do what we were doing. Basically they were aware that we worked on cars and that they were okay with it. And what pushed this issue further was the fact that we found green abandoned and inoperable stickers on our cars. The Laurel had one and the Forester had one. Surprisingly, the Pajero didn't have one, despite the fact that it still doesn't have its plates because the DMV sucks. But it is what it is. We got to get the stuff figured out. And that's what's pushing us to now take the Forester and just relocate it, because there's a lot of money that needs to be put into getting another transmission and getting the right axles and drive shaft and all that. So we're just kind of taking the lesser of two evils approach to the situation and trying to make the best out of it. As is, with this now happening, I'm definitely going to look for a new place to live. Just because I need to be able to do the things that I do. But also, it's been on my heart to try and get a house. So if this is what helps kickstart that whole process to keep going, then yeah, whatever. We roll with it, we'll deal with it. But with that said, I gotta prep to take the engine and transmission out of the Forester so we can actually put the Forester on a trailer and send that thing off. So without further ado, thank you guys for joining us and being a part of this very crazy life and very crazy journey that all of us have been on, especially with that Forester. And we hope to see you guys in another episode of Car Rant. God bless y'all, and peace.